Hello, my name is Madison Meinert, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my risk management plan for homesteading. So let me share my screen. See if we do that. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the risks that are associated with starting to homestead over going out and purchasing things. So, for instance, I would start growing my own crops. I would start getting chickens. I would get eventually a dairy cow, and I would get goats. So, these are all like livestock that I would slowly start to, I would purchase these, and these would be investments that would later um, really honestly pay for themselves in the future because I wouldn't have to buy milk ever again. I could make my own cheese. I could make my own butter. And then the same thing with eggs. I could make my own mayonnaise. The only thing I'd have to buy is oil. That's really super easy. So here are my table of contents. This is where. Okay. My table of contents. This is going to explain where we'll start and where we'll finish. So, the purpose of my risk management plan is to describe the risks of homesteading instead of buying things at the store. So, I would start this off as a part-time kind of thing. I wouldn't immediately go from, um, I wouldn't immediately buy chickens to raise. I wouldn't immediately start with crops. I've already done my own vegetables and done my own crops and herbs and that kind of stuff. So doing like the crops and vegetables and produce, those are really easy to start with. So I already kind of do it part-time. This season was just different for me. However, um, I would buy one cow after I buy my chickens. I would start with chickens and then get a cow, and then a goat would come later. And then eventually pigs and whatever else I could potentially benefit from. But to start, it would pretty much just be chickens and vegetables and then a cow. So it would start off as part-time until I became stable enough to do this full-time, meaning I would stop working my 9 to 5 job and work from home. I would find jobs working from home, I'd freelance, but full-time would probably be in 10 years. The process, I would decide on if I want to focus on food or if I want to focus on producing power. A lot of people will do homesteading and they'll decide on if they want to do food or power. I think I'm going to stick on food first because that is like the easiest for my mind to grasp. And like I said, I'd start with chickens, vegetables, herbs, fruits, and then same thing with eggs. A big risk would be not having a productive season for both livestock and crops. So, if I were to have a really bad season, that would mean that I would have money invested in something that isn't producing anything for me. So, at that rate, would be taking my money and throwing it into the garbage because that's all it would feel like. But I know things like this, they kind of ebb and flow. The risks of starting a homestead include financial risk, burnout, and an unsuccessful season. So these are my risk analysis information. We will skip through. I didn't need anybody to sign off on this risk management plan because it is just me executing this. And then I didn't have any extra references to add here. This is my risk management profile. The most risks I would really incur are operational and financial. Operational meaning I would probably have a high risk for burnout. As I state here, I work a full-time job with about a 40-minute commute. So this is about, I work sometimes 9 to 5, sometimes 8 to 4. So really honestly, I'm gone for 9.5, almost 10 hours a day. So this is 10 hours of my day that I don't get to put towards a farm or a homestead. Um, and then I do school, so that's also cool. The risk for losing money is high, but if I'm really smart, I think I could manage really well. The only problem is like if weather doesn't cooperate with me, then I have more issues than I expected. So, solutions to deal with burnout would be setting up a timed sprinkler system. I've always wanted to get my own sprinkler system built underground just so I don't have to go out with the garden hose and water my plants. I have no problem doing it. But man, sometimes I just don't want to, especially after working a long day. And if that day sucks, then you understand having to go out and water plants is the last thing you want to do. So I would set up a timed sprinkler system and I would let that take care of all the work for me. I would generate rain barrels and I would just put them underneath my that thing. It's losing. It's not here. Um, but I would create a drain system and I would take rain from the rain barrels and generate it from there too, from the beginning before running up my water bill. So, another thing I would do is implement a solution. So, to start, if I'm building a shop or barn, I would start by measuring the amount of land I have to work with. And based off that land, I would have it assessed by a contractor or an engineer or both and figure out if that land is good for electric because I would want to shop there. And then I would also check for water because I would want to wash my produce, clean the chicken coop, anything else, set up a sprinkler system out of there. Um, so I would have that plot of land assessed and then move forward. Of course, I'd have a blueprint that I would submit and be like, hey, this is what I want. So some things I do really well. I have a green thumb and I can draw plans up on paper really well. I also love planning things. I plan way in advance. If I plan at the last minute, it really stresses me out. So I'm a very type A person. Some things I could improve on would be the soil. So we live in the city right now, so we don't have really well nutrient rich soil. So we would have to use the dirt from chicken coops. Their feces are really good for nutrients to put into your crops to make them grow. So I would do that. And then I do have less land in this case, but I could always buy more land outside of town. That would just mean that's more time that I'm away from home. Um, and my lack of time is seen as a weakness because of my work schedule. Some opportunities that are open to me would be to incubate eggs from some of my friends with chickens in hopes of hatching a chick that would become a hen. I could promote my homestead on social media to bring more attention. Some people make a living off posting on social media. I think it would bring attention to my farm stand if I eventually decided to do that. Some threats that could harm me would be a dry season. My competition is going to farmers markets and posting their progress on TikTok. Not everybody has time for farmers markets. In my free time, I may not want to spend from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at a farmer's market. I would rather spend it at the Renaissance Fair or reading a book in my backyard. So, these threats do expose me to potentially losing money. So, those are some risks that I have. And then here is my heat map. I have a low, like medium to low likelihood of equipment failure just because I did put so much preparation into that. Crop failure is common. It is going to be a medium, almost medium to medium high impact just because Missouri is so unpredictable. There are a lot more financial risks and burnout and then time constraints. So these all are very high risks. So I would have to probably do my homestead when I have more time on my hands. If I'm going to be completely honest, I would need to be working 30 hours a week just to make the homestead work, but still have enough finances and be able to produce for myself and my family. So that is my risk management project about homesteading. Thank you.